Hello, listeners. It's AZ, and you've landed on the Fire Rescue Wellness Podcast. I am recording this intro from my room at the National Fire Academy. I'm here for Science to the Station, and it has been nothing short of incredible. I recommend highly, highly, highly that you attend next year. Let me introduce today's guest, though. Today's guest is Associate Professor Dr. Taylor Dinyer. Taylor is an instructor in my very own department at Oklahoma State University, but I had the honor of getting to meet her a couple years ago through a mutual friend, Dr. Katie Hirsch. So shout out to Katie. Also go listen to Katie's episode. It was fantastic. But today I sat down with Taylor and we talked about the actual ins and outs and X's and O's of strength training, because I think that many times there's a misconception when fire departments think that a firefighter isn't strong enough. They simply get them doing these circuit training workouts, which circuit training can be a very effective and impactful way to train. But if the issue is strength, circuit training is unlikely to get someone much or if any stronger. So Taylor answers all of the questions today. I appreciate you immensely for listening. Please share the podcast, rate it, and give us a review. Have a great day.
Thank you for joining me on the Fire Rescue Wellness Podcast. I'm your host, AZ. I find the research and resources and then provide the fire service with the so what, now what, to ensure the health and well-being of every member of our profession. Together, let's thrive. Are you ready?
I think so.
Okay. Say that bit about your fantasy football league again.
Okay. So on this fantasy football team with some GAs, it's me and Shane. So there's two of us faculty and then a bunch of GAs. I've never played before. So pretty much every week, Shane has to be like, hey, Taylor, don't forget to do this for your fantasy football league. So I just got this notification from the app. It's like, just a reminder, 4 of your players are on a bye week this week. So I'm like, oh no, I need to switch them out or I'm going to lose.
Okay, I don't play fantasy football, but what do you even do?
So,
like borrow players?
Yeah, so like you draft, oh my goodness, I can't even remember how many rounds we had. Like there was maybe like 16 rounds or something. So like we had a draft and we came to the school and did it in a classroom so we could have like everybody up on the smartboard. It was really fun. So you pick 12 or 16 players. I honestly don't remember. But you only play like 7 or something each week. And so I just chose for as long as I could, I just chose Alabama football players.
Solid choice.
So it's actually been working out really well for me.
Okay.
But because of that, like I just put like, these are my favorite ones. So like they're going to play. But then there'll be weeks where it's like, oh, someone has a concussion. They're not playing. Mm. So you have to like look at your roster each week before the games start on Thursday.
Too much.
So that way you get players in.
It's too much.
I take it the least amount of serious, which is why Shane, like there was one morning, this was a couple weeks ago, he texted me. He's like, are you going to be at work today? So I'm thinking like, oh man, like there's an academic emergency. And he's like, all right, I mean, it's nothing crazy, but you need to replace a couple of your players on your fantasy team.
Oh my God.
Like, great.
Oh my God. Well, listeners, I am in the office of Dr. Taylor Dinyer, otherwise known as DMAC.
Yes.
DMAC, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So excited to have you today. And I introduce my guests by making them introduce themselves. Work harder, not smarter, right?
Yeah.
And so, but I ask you 3 really, really tough questions. Are you ready?
Yeah.
And you can answer them any way you want to, okay? Who is Dr. DMAC?
Oh man, see, it's a loaded question.
Right out of the gate, it's a hard one.
Well, I mean, just like in general, I'm a professor at Oklahoma State University, so that's the easiest way to go there. But who am I? I guess if I'm not, I would like honestly just describe myself as a basic white girl. Big fan of just like coffee, lattes,
pumpkin spice
Love a PSO. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I know. Like right now I'm making overnight oats and the protein powder I have is pumpkin spice latte.
I just got pumpkin spice protein yesterday. First form. Is that what you got?
That's what I got too.
I've never used first form before.
It's my husband and I's favorite just because it tastes so good. So that's a huge thing for me. Flavor, like if it doesn't taste good or if the texture is weird, like I'm just not. I know I need protein. It's important. I'm not just going to drink it just because you need it. So it has to taste good. But first form, in my opinion, tastes the best. So yeah, anyways, put that in your overnight oats with a little bit of like maple syrup. It tastes like fall.
Like fall?
Yes.
In an oat.
Yes.
Listeners, as I mentioned, we are at Oklahoma State University and we don't even have a second floor of this building. And it sounds like people are moving furniture on the second floor.
Yeah, that happens sometimes. There'll be times when I'm teaching in class and like, what is banging up there? I have no idea what goes on I don't even know. Do we have an attic? I have no idea.
I don't know.
I don't know how that works in a university building.
We need to investigate. Okay, so now we know who you are. What sets your soul on fire?
Oh, it sets my soul on fire. So I have recently rediscovered that I just love helping people.
Amazing.
Yeah. And so I think like for me, like I did my Ph.D. and I loved studying and doing research and everything. And it's super easy, I think, in my opinion, to sometimes like get lost from why you started doing things in the first place when you're in that, because it's 4 years and you're just like, working your butt off to get done, which is great. Like I loved it. I love my PhD. But I think like in the transition from like PhD to faculty to trying to like get your lab set up and figure out what you're teaching and everything, like I got like a little bit lost. And so I finally have come back to where it's like really just helping people. And I want them to be happy. And so it's like helping people just like be happy, make the most of what they want to do.
And we'll get to it later, but you are actually helping me. I am beta testing Dr. DMAC's nutrition programming.
Yes.
Super fun getting back to doing some tracking and accountability because I just kind of went off the rails for a couple of years, but I digress. We'll get to that later. All right. Last one. How are you changing the world?
Man, all of the tough questions. You said they were going to be tough and I thought you were joking, but they are tough.
Oh, I was joking.
This is like my hardest thing. It's like, oh, 2 truths and a lie. Or like, what, what's something fun about you? Nothing. I'm not fun at all.
I'm not fun either. It's okay.
But how am I changing the world? I think what I want to do is just try to remind people like how good it is for us to move and be active.
Yes.
So that's what, am I doing that? I hope so. I hope that's how I'm changing the world.
Well, I'm personally inspired on your Instagram stories when you and Logan are out in the garage doing feats of strength and conditioning. I'm inspired. So
perfect. Thank you.
You're changing my world.
Okay, there we go.
Usually I'm like, I can't do that. It looks fun, but I can't do that.
It is fun.
It is fun. Quick, just little segue. The reason I know Dr. DMAC now, I would know her anyway because I'm at Oklahoma State, but primarily I met her because she is a friend, a former guest, Katie Hirsch.
Yeah.
Katie's amazing.
Love Katie.
I'm going to link that episode because she talked about HIIT training, which is incredible.
Yes.
All right. You got roped into this today because I had a listener question that was basically this. We're hiring these firefighters and they're just not strong enough. Like they can't do the job. They're just not strong enough. Mm-hmm. And I guess we should let's start at the very beginning. Let's make it an easy one. When we're talking about getting stronger, is there a difference if you're a female versus a male?
It's a great question. So in general, if we just think about strength, like you're just wanting to have the ability to lift as much as you can in a few amount of reps, right? And so some people think like, oh, as much as I can lift in 1 rep, but we're like 4 to 6 range. We're just trying to lift heavy. So with males and females, like we can get stronger, right? Just lift heavy weight that you struggle with the last couple of reps. With females, I think, so there's some physiology stuff coming out that there may be some differences in women, like potentially across the menstrual cycle, especially as we age and we start to go through that fun menopause transition.
I'm making my face right now. I feel the pain. Go ahead.
But there's still not enough out there to really say like, you know, you're not going to be as strong during this phase of your cycle and whatnot. But in my opinion, the main difference between men and women, males and females, is the messaging that's out there and what people think they should or maybe should not be doing.
Oh, let's dig more into the messaging, because I am personally not a fan of the pink creatine for women, the pink protein powder for women, or the exercise programming that's like got a pink sticker on it. Yeah. So let's dig into that a little bit more.
Yeah, for sure. So I love the color pink, but
me too.
Not for marketing those purposes, because I think that kind of like wraps it up where it's like, oh, like I'm a female, I'm delicate, I can't lift that much, I need to lift lightweight. And it's like, no, you don't. You know, like all of these things I think are being tailored towards us because, yeah, actually I have no idea why it is. I think there is good intention behind it. Like we want to get females to move because for whatever reason, we haven't been like wanting to lift weights or even had that message was like, yeah, women should lift weights. But so I think the messaging, the intent at first was good. Like, hey, like let's kind of womanize this, if you will, to get people in the gym. But when that happens, then I think females think that they have to only do like certain things. So like, I'm not trying, things are great, all things have a purpose, but like Orange Theory or certain boot camps because it's female oriented. Now, I think that's fine for getting people in the door, you know, because we want to make sure that females feel safe and comfortable, because I think there's that stigma too, where it's like, oh, I don't want to go to the gym because I don't know what I'm doing. But we can still do a 5x5 back squat and lift heavy. Like there's nothing that all of these, I don't know, circuit E, if you will, training is being like, oh, you need to do this. Like, no, we can lift heavy weights. We can do that.
Yes, we can. We try in our garage. So you mentioned that building strength was lifting heavy ass weights in the 4 to 6 rep range. Tell the listeners what the difference is between building strength and hypertrophy, especially in the realm of a lot of women say this whole thing like, I don't want to get bulky. I hate that.
I hate it so much.
I so want to get bulky.
I know, right? I'm like, I want to get bulky. And I think why we say that is because oftentimes in like social media or TV, it's like you see like these huge guys. We have different hormones. So we're probably not going to even get that bulky if we go to the gym. Also, the level or the amount of time you would have to spend in the gym to get quote unquote bulky is ridiculous.
Like, give me a number.
Oh my gosh. A number? I mean like hours.
I so want to be bulky.
Like I so want to be bulky. But like, no, we're not going to get bulky. So now I forgot the question. What is it?
Oh, hypertrophy versus building strength.
Yeah. So hypertrophy is like we want to get bigger size, right? Our muscles bigger, which I guess maybe that's where the bulkiness comes through. And so when we're thinking about hypertrophy, usually we're doing more repetitions. I think like 12 to 15 range, 8 to 12, 12 to 15, shorter rest between sets because we really want to subject that muscle to that stimulus, like increased metabolites. All of these things are going to promote muscle protein synthesis and muscle growth. Now you'll get some of that still with those fewer reps, heavier load, but I think the key word there is like specificity. So we're going towards that strength, lifting heavier, not as many, and then allowing more rest between repetitions. So that way when we go into set 2, those 4 to 6 reps can be powerful and you're not in that quote unquote fatigued, if you will, state.
I love it. And my biggest, it's not a gripe. It's just, it is what it is.
Sure.
What happens at fire departments a lot is they say, you're not strong enough. You need to get stronger. Come in here with us and do these circuit training workouts that we've set up. Now, more power to them because circuit training is usually one of the things that they can easily do and incorporate a lot of members together. Yeah. But unless you're incredibly weak, I would say the circuit training is not going to help. Can you riff on that a little bit?
Yeah, a little bit. So I think you know that like if you're weak or you're newer to lifting, Definitely, I think a good place to start. And there is research that shows like, with 8 weeks of circuit training, 12 weeks of circuit training, even in some trained individuals, they'll see similar increases in like strength compared to traditional strength training. Now, one of the caveats to that is it's 8 to 12 weeks. And so it could just be like it's a novel stimulus. We're doing something different. There's not enough long-term research to, I think, back that circuit training is going to continue to make you stronger. The other thing with circuit training, so like when you're talking about that is it's like, all right, 30 seconds on, 30 seconds off. Yeah, so for those 30 seconds, you're just doing as many reps as you can, right? And so that's going to be lighter load. You're probably over time not necessarily increasing the weight that you're using. So now you're getting stuck using maybe like a 15-pound weight for 8 weeks. You've not subjected your muscle to any additional stimulus or any additional load to allow for those strength adaptations to happen. So again, like if it's like, hey, I'm just starting out, yeah, do circuit training, right? It's fun. You're in the group setting, so everyone's doing it. I don't even think there's anything wrong with adding it in a couple days a week, or even like as your accessory, a circuit for accessory work. Like that's fine. But if we want to get stronger and to continue to get stronger, there has to be focused strength work in that program.
You said a term, excuse me. You said a term accessory, and I'm assuming that a good portion of the listeners know what that means.
Sure.
But can you just elaborate? What is accessory as opposed to like the core or the main lifts?
Yeah. So like the main lifts, like usually you're doing this first, and it's going to be something that incorporates a lot of joints or muscles. So think about like a back squat, a deadlift, a bench press, those like multi-muscle group exercises where you can load the muscles a lot more. And then accessory is typically what you're doing afterwards. And so it's kind of like, if we're like female, like your purse, right? It's an accessory. It's an addition to.
Oh my God.
I didn't love that, but
it's fantastic. Shoes.
Yeah. Shoes. Yeah. Shoes, right? Like earrings, glasses,
Watches.
A watch. Like these are all in addition to.
Yes.
And so that's what the accessory is. It's an addition to that main lift to help maybe focus in on specific muscles of interest. And so typically you're not doing as much load because now you're, instead of doing a squat where you're incorporating your quadriceps and your hamstrings and your glutes, like maybe now we're just doing a leg extension where the quad is the primary target. And so we're not able to lift as much, but we're still developing that muscle.
I think it was Coco Chanel, but it might not have been, who said, put on your accessories and then take off at least one. Is it the same thing with strength training? Sometimes less is more?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Sometimes less is more. And this is something like personally, actually, that I've been experimenting with in the last 18 weeks, probably.
You guys, Taylor is jacked. Just so you know, Taylor is jacked.
Thank you. But no, that's been something that I've been like experimenting with because I think this is where circuit training also is like coming to be, where it's like, oh, I need to do this because people want to do a lot of things and they want it to be different. And like, that's all well and good because it's like, oh, I need to stay engaged. So I need things to be different. We sometimes, like with strength, like consistency wins and keeping it simple wins. And so
I'm winning.
Yes. Yes,
okay,
exactly. So that's how it is with accessory. Like I don't, you do your main lift and then you don't need to do 15 accessory lifts. Like pick 3 to 4.
Okay.
That's great.
I love it. So if we were going to think about, not to put you on the spot, but I have a feeling it's not even putting you on the spot. If we were to think about putting together a training session just for today, and my goal is getting stronger, sets, reps, rest, just talk to us like about the X's and O's.
Yeah. So if we want to get stronger, like I'd start you with a main lift. So one of those like multi-muscle group lifts. So let's say we're doing back squat. So maybe we start with like a 5x5 back squat, and you'll want to take at least 2 minutes of rest in between, 2 to 2.5.
Oh my God, what am I going to do for those 2 minutes?
Fantastic question. Chill.
What?
Yeah, I know it can get super boring. So what I like to recommend to people is just, I mean, like I'm in my garage, so it's probably less weird. But walk around. Just like light activity, because then that also like you're sneaking in additional steps. And we know that there's no like magic, if we will, quote unquote, step number. But the more activity we get that's outside of our workout, like probably the better off we're going to be. So sneak in some really low cardio. Maybe jump on a bike where you're just like moving or walk around.
Love it.
So
what's next?
Then after that, I typically do a superset. And so a superset is 2 different exercises. Normally what I'll do is, like, if we do squats, let's pretend now we're going to do a push and a pull for the lower body. And so maybe my first one is lunges. And so maybe I'll grab a couple dumbbells and do just in place lunges, 12 to 15, if you will. And then rest 30 seconds to a minute. And then maybe next we're going to do some single leg RDLs with a dumbbell. And so again, maybe like 8 to 12 on each leg. And then rest for like 90 seconds to 2 minutes, and then do that again 3 to 4 times.
Okay. And then what?
And then I would do another superset. So sometimes what I'll do, because you're like, do we need to do a ton of accessory? You don't have to. So you could always do another lower push pull. Oftentimes though, like what I've been doing lately with my squat days is I'll do the squat and then the superset, and then I'll do like a core, 12-minute core, where I just rotate between 3 different movements for 30 seconds on, 30 seconds off, just to kind of round out the whole session. And then I'm done.
What? You're done? Just that?
And I'm done. I know it seems crazy, but if we're loading appropriately during our back squat and during our accessories, we should feel pretty good. And I think one of the really important things too is we don't have to feel like we've killed ourselves at the end of every single workout.
Say it again.
We do not have to feel like we have killed ourselves at the end of every single workout.
So weird. And also, Taylor is jacked. She knows what she's talking about. So let's talk about, because we're kind of on the topic, but not really. Let's talk about cardiovascular conditioning.
Mm-hmm.
Do you add on like a sort of like a metabolic finisher? Do you do your cardio separately when your goal is getting stronger?
Yep. So for me, what I'm doing right now is I do my cardio separately. So I'll lift 3 to 4 days per week. And then 2 to 3 days per week, I'll do cardio. And so that cardio, I think if you don't have like a specific, like, I want to go run like a marathon or a 5K.
We do not.
Okay, cool. So it's like, we just need cardiovascular health because it's good for us. 30 to 45 minutes. And that can be, you don't have to kill yourself. So like a nice moderate pace. If you like running, it can be running. If you don't like running and you have a piece of cardio equipment, so like in our garage gym, we have a rower and a bike. And then I also will run too. But you can rotate between those movements. So maybe you're going to do a 500-meter row and then catch your breath. Go do 1,000 meters on the bike erg, catch your breath, and then go jog a 400. And just repeat that for like 30 to 45 minutes. That's kind of fun because then you're changing it up. And sometimes I know people don't like cardio, like running, because like I'm literally just running for 45 minutes. This is so not fun. That's okay. We just need to increase our heart rate and maintain a nice steady state.
And if as a bonus, you can make it super weird for the neighbors, I think that's always a win.
That's like my favorite thing to do.
Yeah, I love doing stuff on my driveway now because my neighbors are just like, what?
Yes.
In the hell?
Yep.
Okay, so we've got a framework. We're understanding sets and reps. We're understanding rest. Let's talk about, because this is kind of one of your wheelhouses, nutrition. If we're specifically, our goal is to get stronger, is there anything we need to focus on with our nutrition?
Yes, absolutely. So the first thing I'm going to say is protein.
I love protein.
Protein is great. And it's also, especially for females, one of the macronutrients that we just aren't getting enough of. So you have to make an effort to make sure that you're getting enough, not just like at dinner or post-workout, but every single meal. So protein. That's going to help with recovery. It's going to build the muscles and the strength that you're wanting from that strength training. And then, in my opinion, carbohydrates are so important too. They're not the enemy. They are fantastic. They're going to fuel your workouts. So you have energy to lift. And then they're also helping with recovery from your workout.
It's like putting gas in the car?
Exactly.
Okay. And then with our other macronutrient fats, how do we work that into it if we're really focusing on protein? We know the carbs are important. What do we do with that fat?
Yeah, so fats, it's the hard part, right? Because they're all so important. But you want to make sure that you're getting adequate fat because that's going to support hormone health. There's certain vitamins that need fat in order to be transported in the body. And so like for females, probably the lowest you would want to go is like 50 grams of fat throughout the whole day. And again, that's just to maintain like hormone health, vitamins, like transporting vitamins, all the good things. Like we need fat. It's good for us. So like a nice healthy fat with like breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
So I'm hearing that nutrition is important. Protein is very important. We need to fuel with our carbs. Also, because you're so good at this, I'm going to put it in the show notes. If you need direction with your nutrition, Dr. DMAC is your person. But you mentioned nutrition and recovery, and I wanted to talk about recovery in general. If my goal is getting stronger, what else do I need to focus on besides lifting heavy ass weights, eating well?
For sure. So the first thing that's so important is sleep, because that's where we are allowing our body to recover, right? So like like for me, I go work out in the morning and then I got to shower, get ready for work, come to work, then I work.
Wait, it's all this preparation for work.
I know. It's so much preparation just to come to work. And then you actually have to do the work. And then you go home and you cook dinner and like take your dogs on a walk. And so like we're always doing things, even if it's lower intensity. And so that sleep component is so important because that's when you're allowing your body that opportunity to actually rest and recover. So that way you're prepped for the next day of your workouts and your work. I also think it's so important to have at least one day of rest, like full recovery. Like you can walk because walking is so great, but one day where you're not lifting any weights, you're not going hard on cardio, just so you can, again, give your body what it needs, which is sometimes we just need to chill and let it recover and have that opportunity just to slow down.
I love that. And I just thought of something. It's philosophical, maybe. Okay. When we're looking at males versus females, females have usually less muscle mass in general. So it would track that they're not as strong. They have less muscle mass.
Yep.
But per pound of muscle, they have the ability to relatively, they're as strong, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so they're relatively as strong. They're just generally smaller. So when we're looking at someone and saying, you can't do this task because you're not strong enough, I almost wonder if many times it's not necessarily the strength, it's the technique.
100%. Yeah. And I think that like, especially like in the firefighter realm, like this is something that like we've talked about and like J Dawes.
Love J Dawes.
Yeah. Well, he says it all the time too, but it's so true is it's like whenever you're in firefighting, police, whatever, like a tactical type occupation, you're going to be put in probably positions that aren't perfect technique. And so I think an important thing, especially like with growing strength, growing muscle to get stronger.
I like growing strength.
Growing strength. In the gym, we need to really focus in on our technique. So that way we're doing the right things at the right time. So then when we're put in an awkward position, we can be as right as possible because we've really hammered those things with a barbell or the dumbbell.
With the kettlebell, with the sandbag.
Exactly.
I got it. Okay. So would you say that there's anything that you should in particular not do if getting stronger is your goal? So we did the do's. Are there some don'ts?
I mean, it's just like the opposite of the do's. Like if you're not focusing in on your nutrition, it's going to be really, really hard to get stronger just because you're not giving your body the nutrients that it needs for that muscle protein synthesis to allow for muscle growth for the recovery aspect. So I think that's really what it is just like making sure you're doing the right things right. And that you're training enough, but not too much. So especially too, it's, people who will be endurance athletes, they'll run and they'll be like, I want to get stronger, but maybe they're only doing strength training twice a week for 30 minutes. That will probably work at first, right? But if there's still such a focus on the endurance and they're only doing like 30 minutes of strength training twice a week, maybe not really focusing in on loading the muscle or increasing the weight, then we're not able to get as strong as we can. So specificity is a really, really big thing.
I had a guy tell me that he wanted to strength train and get stronger, but he didn't want to do his legs because he was already a runner.
So different. They're so different. Your legs are great at running, but there's completely different adaptations that you're getting from those two modalities.
I am dead.
Oh.
I am dead. Okay. So we talked about the difference between, seriously, with the moving furniture. We talked about the difference between strength and hypertrophy and muscle endurance. We talked about kind of the sets and reps, the schemes, planning a workout. We talked about, there might be slight differences in males versus females, but probably not enough to like throw your whole program off track, right?
Yeah, there's
worth
no
consideration.
Need to, yeah, I think it's definitely worth consideration. There's no, at this point, like in terms of like, especially if we're thinking like menstrual cycle, right? At this point, there's not enough research out there to say that there are these vast differences between cycle phases. Now, I think an important thing for females to remember is that you're probably going to feel worse during certain times of your cycle, and that's fine. Maybe you're going to feel lower energy or cramps or whatever. So it's like important to consider those things. So that way, if you don't feel good, don't push yourself, right? Like it's okay to take a break and like maybe do lower intensity or not do your cardio as intense if you're not feeling quite as well. But at this point, there's no real reason to completely match your strength training to your cycle.
I love that answer. I just have one more question for you.
Sure.
Well, actually more, but this one is the last one regarding strength training. Creatine. What do you want to talk about?
I love creatine.
I do too.
I was gonna sneak that into the recovery one, but then it was like, wait a second. How do I like actually do this without being like creatine? So
no, you just go like creatine.
Yeah, so creatine, love it.
Isn't it amazing?
Yeah, and I think it's so underrated, and like there's so much research that's going out there now, which like I think is fantastic, but it's where like podcasts like these are so great because then we can just tell you like, yeah, take your creatine. It's so important. So it's going to help you with strength, right? Like if strength is your goal, creatine. If you need to recover, creatine. There was even a study that came out recently that was it's pretty interesting, actually. They were looking at it was untrained females who did a strength training study and how creatine may or may not impact sleep.
Oh.
And so what they actually saw was in terms of quantity, so hours, not necessarily quality, but in terms of quantity, the group that was strength training and consuming creatine had better quantity of sleep following creatine after a workout versus individuals who just like they do their workout, but they're not supplementing with creatine. So yeah, like it is like across the board. I mean, like, steroids are illegal, so don't do steroids, but it's like creatine is like...
It's not a steroid, but...
the magic pill that everyone should take because it's not a steroid, which I think sometimes that's a thing that people think. Nope, it's not. And it's fantastic. And also, it's so cheap.
It is.
In terms of a supplement. So if you're going to spend money on supplements, creatine.
Thank you. And the creatine use in firefighter meta-analysis just came out like the last week. I'll link it in the show notes. But here's the thing. I'm not here to convince you, but you really should at least educate yourself on it.
100%, yeah. Like not sponsored, no creatine companies like, hey, make sure you tell them to take creatine. But
we are looking for sponsors, though.
We are looking for sponsors if anyone wants to provide creatine to us.
That's fantastic. Okay, so first thing I'm going to ask you, is there something we should have talked about that we didn't? Or like a punchy take-home message soundbite for everyone?
Yeah, I think if you're not strength training, you need to add it in. It's going to help literally like, okay, like with firefighters, obviously going to help with your job, but just life in general. As we get older, unfortunately, we lose muscle mass, and females in particular, that's going to unfortunately happen at a quicker rate. So right now, start lifting.
The best time was 20 years ago. The second best time is
right now.
Right now, today. Okay. Dude, I want to talk about your dogs.
Oh my gosh, I'm obsessed.
I know you are.
They're my children.
Two dogs, right?
Yes.
Okay. Tell me all the details.
We have one dog, Boston Terrier. She just turned 10.
Ooh.
And her name is Crimson. And she's...
Wait, why?
We're huge Crimson Tide fans. So
Shocker.
roll Tide.
Shocker.
Crimson's awesome because she's 10. So it's like technically like she's considered a geriatric dog. She only acts geriatric when we go on walks. Literally hates them. This dog will walk so slow. But then we get home and she's like doing sprints around the house, like playing fetch. Like she's crazy. So not really.
Don't put Crimson down for cardio.
No, she's not a cardio girl. But then our other dog, her name is Stella. She's a Chihuahua Corgi mix. She's a drama queen.
Really? Tell me more.
She's a drama queen. Like she's so sassy. So sassy. All the time.
Give me an example.
Oh. So my grandma has a dog, and she's a puppy still. And so my dog Stella, not a fan of her. Yaps at her, like wants to jump at her because Stella's like, no.
No, we are done.
I'm the youngest. You do not get to come in here. So big drama queen. But she loves walks. Like if you say walk to Stella, loses her mind.
Oh, so you need to spell it for both dogs for different reasons.
Yes.
Crimson needs to not know cardio is happening, and Stella needs to not have warning that it's happening.
Yep, exactly.
Amazing. And we didn't talk about Logan. Tell the listeners about Logan.
So Logan's my husband. We've been married for 3 years, but together for 10. So he's
Did
just
you get
incredible.
the dog together?
So I did get him Crimson.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
I think this was like, so we started dating in like June, and then I got him Crimson in November.
Oh,
yeah.
Ballsy move.
I know. In my defense, so this is a fun little like takeaway. Logan's, if he listens to this, he's gonna roll his eyes. But what I always tell people is I moved in with Logan the first day I met him.
I love this story. Tell it.
So it was between my junior and senior year of college, and I had to do an internship. And there was this great opportunity at a sports performance gym in Kansas City. Well, my family does not live in Kansas City.
Whose family does live in Kansas City?
Right.
Let's be honest.
Exactly. So the owner of the gym was like, oh, it's fine. Like there's this guy, Logan. He's got an extra bedroom and bathroom. Like you can just stay there with him. I'm like, okay, it was free. Like I didn't have to pay anything. I didn't have to like find rent. Like it was fantastic. So I'm like, yeah, let's do it. And so, yeah, like the day before I start my internship, like I drive to the gym. I got my Honda Civic loaded down with all my clothes and everything. I walk into the gym. Of course, the owner's not there, right? And I've never met Logan before.
How awkward.
Yeah. So I walk in. There's just like this random girl, like just me, chilling in like the lobby. And Logan and another guy are working out. They're squatting. And like they notice I'm there. So Logan comes over. And he asked me, he's like, he's like, hey, I'm Logan. I'm like, yeah, I'm Taylor. He's like, so do you still need a place to stay? So I play it off, right? I'm like, oh, yeah, that'd be great, whatever. In the back of my head, I'm like, well, hell yeah, I do. My whole car's loaded down. If not, you're going to see me in your parking lot in the morning. So yeah, moved in with him the first day I met him, and then had to go back to Truman State for the final year of my senior year. So like naturally in my head, I'm like, Logan's going to miss me so much. I should get him a dog.
Oh my God, Taylor. Did he miss you?
He did.
He loved the dog.
He loved the dog. And then I moved back in with him when I graduated. So out of the 10 years that we've been together, I only haven't lived with him for like 9 months. I guess that's a school year.
Oh my gosh, that's such a good story. Well, I know you have to go teach class. What are you teaching today?
You're going to love this, Annette. So I teach sports supplements, and today's topic, creatine.
Shut the heck up.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Taylor has to go teach creatine. So we're going to drop the mic. Thank you for listening. If you need to get stronger, definitely listen to the tips Taylor gave or reach out to her because she is a badass strength training queen.
Please do.
All right. Thanks, Taylor.
Thank you, AZ.